A few days later, Genos told his master that his rank has gone up from last place to 342nd place. Then, Saitama learned that Genos is still in the last rank, but his popularity rank is number 6. Saitama was jealous, and he learned that Genos was nicknamed the Cyborg Prince. A few weeks later, a huge meteorite flew towards the Earth, and scientists were shocked by the discovery. The reason for their frightened faces was that the meteorite was the size of the moon. They also calculated that the meteorite will soon hit the Earth and will first hit City Z. So the Hero Association called all Class S heroes to a meeting, and Saitama asked if Genos could bring Logan Paul's prime drink with him on the way home. Following this, Genos arrived in the Hero building, and he was greeted by Bang. Genos recognized Silver Fang, who was ranked 3rd among Class S heroes. He explained to Genos that all Class S heroes have been called up because there's a big problem. So Silverfang said that it is the threat-level dragon and the meteorite will hit the Earth in 30 minutes. Genos learned that the entire city of Z will be destroyed and they most likely have no chance of evacuating everyone in time. Genos then asked what he was planning to do, and Bang said that he had to protect his dojo. Meanwhile, all the residents of City Z tried to escape the meteorite, but they couldn't do it in time. Genos was aware that everyone would die, but he tried everything to protect people. So Genos activated his Iron Man suit that he had stolen from the Avengers and increased his power. Suddenly a cyborg appeared who also planned to destroy the meteorite. Genos recognized Cyborg Bofoy, who was also one of the S-Class heroes. Then Genos asked that he needed his help, but he denied Genos his request. Bofoy replied he only came to field test his new super weapon. Genos then learned that the cyborg in front of him is just a drone that is remotely controlled with an Xbox controller. He also said that he was not Cyborg Bofoy, and Genos learned he is the Class S hero Metal Knight. After that, Metal Knight launched his attack, and he fired missiles at the meteorite. Then the missiles hit the meteorite, and Genos was amazed by the destructive power. Unfortunately, Metal Knight's attack failed, and the meteorite continued to fly towards Earth. Genos calculated the impact time, and he was nervous because if his attack failed, all the residents would die. Suddenly Bang appeared. He calmed him down, and said that he was still young and should trust in his powers. Genos gained courage, and he put his Iron Man core into his arm so that he can gather enough energy. Genos then shot at the meteorite with all his strength, but it didn't work. Bang thought his attack would push the meteorite back, but he was wrong, and Genos ran out of energy. When Genos lost hope, his master showed up. He introduced himself as a hero, and immediately wanted to save the world. However, Saitama jumped into the sky and prepared his normal punch. He smashed the meteorite with his fist, and the meteorite shattered into many small pieces. Silver Fang Bang was impressed by Saitama's overwhelming powers, and the entire city shook at that moment. Then, the meteorite fragments fell to the earth. Saitama thought he had saved the city, and he didn't notice that the buildings behind him were being destroyed. 3 days later, people were informed that City Z was not completely destroyed. Genos couldn't forgive himself for his incompetence, because he couldn't do anything. But Saitama said that he didn't do anything wrong, and that he should be happy that no one died. Genos agreed with him, and he was aware that his master was performing a miracle. Genos feared that many would blame Saitama for the damage, even though he had saved all the residents. Suddenly Saitama asked about their hero ranking. Saitama learned that he had moved up from rank 342 to rank 5. Then Genos said that he deserved more recognition, but the Hero Association thought that Genos and Metal Knight destroyed the meteorite. After that, Saitama learned about the threat level system, and Genos was confident that no threat is a problem for him. Suddenly Saitama said words that inspired Genos, and he immediately wrote them down on a notebook. Meanwhile, Saitama decided to find a threat, and he didn't allow Genos to accompany him because otherwise he would get all the credits again. Saitama then looked around the city, and was accused of being a fraud by Tank Top Tiger. Suddenly he called his big brother and Tank Top Black Hole showed up. He was also told that Saitama was a fraud who took credit for work done by others. Saitama asked them who they were, and Tank Top Tiger got angry. Then Tank Top Black Hole had the idea to make the residents hate Saitama. He shouted if he was the culprit for the destroyed city, and the residents gathered around Saitama. The bully's plan worked, and he was able to trick people into hating Saitama. So all the residents were turned against Saitama and they thought he was the villain. Saitama couldn't believe that they all believed the lies, and they tried to make him give up being a hero. In the meantime, Genos found out about the hate messages. Then we see the angry people who all insulted Saitama. Silver Fang observed the situation and did not intervene because Saitama will have to deal with haters more often in the future. Suddenly the Tank Top brothers said that they will punish Saitama. Silverfang found the two brothers pitiful and was not surprised that they will never get above Class B. Afterwards, the Tank Top brothers showed their TikTok dances and were angry because they couldn't get any new followers. Tank Top Tiger was immediately defeated and thrown away. Tank Top Black Hole's attack failed too, and he admitted that he lied to everyone. Suddenly Saitama said he had destroyed the city and shouted that he didn't care about the insults directed at him. He said they can blame him of being the bad guy. Suddenly Genos stopped him and he was happy to have a great master. On the way home, Genos said that he had never met anyone as incredible as him. In addition, Genos said that even if everyone is against him, he will always follow him. In the following days, we see an octopus trying to rule the world. He had a message saying that the Seafolk clan would conquer the surface and they should surrender. Meanwhile, Moomin Rider was on the way to save the townspeople. But Saitama happened to run into the monster and played Squid Game with him. So Moomin Rider missed the fight, and he heard about the hero Saitama. During the night he found out that Saitama moved up to rank 5. Below we see more sea monsters that swam to the surface and a shorty with huge melons screamed for help. The problem was that the Sailor clan scared them, and they planned to conquer the surface. Suddenly Class A hero Stinger showed up and was ready for the fight. The residents were happy to see him and cheered him on because they thought he will defeat the enemy. In the meantime, Genos used his cyborg abilities to dry the dishes and he told Saitama that he moved up to rank 2. Suddenly Genos asked his master if Saitama had defeated a seafolk monster yesterday. Saitama had trouble remembering names, and there were reports about the monsters on TV. They learned that the monsters came from Bikini Bottom and Moomin Rider set out to protect the people. Then we see Stinger, who was badly beaten, and SpongeBob's friends looked down on him. Despite his injuries, Stinger didn't give up and he attacked the monsters. As a result, he was able to defeat them and he celebrated his victory. Out of nowhere, the leader of the Seafolk appeared and defeated Stinger. Saitama and Genos were on the way to City J, and Genos said he will try to locate the enemies. Afterwards we see the Hero Association, and they learned about Stinger. Moomin Rider was on the highway, and other heroes said that he should turn back because Class C heroes can't handle it. Meanwhile, Deep Sea King was walking on the streets and a hero was looking at him. Lightning Max sensed that a danger was looming behind him, and he instinctively attacked the enemy. He was shocked that the monster appeared behind him. Then he tried to run away, but he was immediately attacked and smashed into a building. Lightning Max knew he had no chance of winning and tried to use his secret weapon to defeat the monster. He lost and fell unconscious from the building, but a Class S hero saved him. Puri Prisoner broke out of prison, and Sonic was surprised to see that heroes are also in the prisons. Sonic learned that Puri is a prisoner because he always attacks beautiful men and forces them to pick up soap. Then Deep Sea King appeared, and Puri Prisoner could not forgive the enemy for disfiguring two men's pretty faces. He was furious, and couldn't believe that the enemy caused him to destroy the sweater of his boyfriend. However, the Deep Sea King was hungry, and said he would turn his enemy into a Krabby Patty. Puri Prisoner wasn't scared, and he hit back and his opponent was impressed by his power. Meanwhile, Sonic noticed that Puri Prisoner just acted like a tough boy, but he was badly injured. Suddenly, Puri Prisoner decided to transform into his Sailor Moon form, but he only took off his clothes. Sonic was shocked to see him naked, and Puri was sure to win with his angel-style form. Then they started the fight, and Deep Sea King was attacked by Puri Prisoner. After that, Genos located the enemy, but he couldn't reach his master on the phone. Meanwhile, Deep Sea King withstood all his opponent's attack. He looked down on Puri Prisoner and he punched him back. Deep Sea King's power was on another level and he knocked his opponent out. Then he used Puri Prisoner as his punching ball and he sent him to the moon with a strong kick. Deep Sea King had a lot of fun and he challenged Sonic to fight him next. Sonic accepted his challenge and he attacked Deep Sea King with a strong kick. Suddenly Deep Sea King used one of his special abilities, but Sonic dodged his attack. Sonic said he will never lose against a weakling like him and he dodged the monster's punch with ease. However, Deep Sea King got a liking on him and he increased his speed too. Deep Sea King turned into a stronger monster and said he got a power-up. Then we see Moomin Rider and he met Saitama, who tried to find his friend. He asked Moomin Rider if he had seen his friend Genos. Below we see Amai Mask being interviewed and he said that he is just a hobby hero. He promoted his new song and said that he wanted to bring courage to the heroes with his song. In the meantime, Sonic was in trouble and he tried to retreat. Unfortunately, Deep Sea King was faster and he crushed Sonic with his hands. Sonic managed to escape and met Genos during his retreat. He said that all the heroes were defeated and Genos wondered why the guy was naked. Then we see the residents who were evacuated and hid in a building. Deep Sea King was excited and he entered the building. Following this, a Class C hero told the monster that they will surrender and asked Deep Sea King to spare them in return. He refused the offer and threatened to eat all people in the room. Suddenly some heroes presented themselves, and Snake was ready to risk his life. Afterwards, we see Mumen Rider, who wanted to show Saitama the way. Saitama saw a naked man, and he thought that the man was not evacuated in time. Later we see Snake and his friends. They were scared of the monster. Saitama couldn't find the man, and all the heroes were seriously injured. Afterwards, Genos showed up, and the Hero Association couldn't reach Mumen Rider on the phone. Saitama found Mumen Rider's phone, and explained to the Heroes Association that Mumen Rider is on his way to fight against the monster. In addition, Saitama said that he would take care of the problem. Then we see Genos, who attacked the Deep Sea King with his super cyborg blast punch. Genos shoot him to the moon, and he caused a huge hole into the wall. The citizens were fascinated by Genos and thought he had won. Following this, they celebrated Genos' victory, but Deep Sea King knocked him down from behind. Genos let his guard down, and he was seriously injured by his opponent. Meanwhile, the Hero Association found out that Saitama was a C-class hero. The board chairman would stop other C-class heroes from doing so, but they believed in him and sent him the location of the monster. Later, Genos ordered all citizens to run away because he will stop the monster in front of him. The Deep Sea King didn't want to let them escape, but Genos charged at him and attacked him with a cyborg kick. They started the fight and exchanged countless blows against each other. Then Genos managed to hit his enemy with a strong uppercut, and he shot a barrage of fire at him. He also jumped into the air to blind him, and continued to attack with his machine gun blows. Unfortunately, the Deep Sea King managed to withstand his attacks, and a girl tried to cheer him on. The girl was spat with acid, but Genos jumped in front of her to protect her. As a result, Genos' body was melted and Deep Sea King crushed him into the wall of the building. He looked down on Genos and called him pathetic for being able to dodge the attack but choosing to save the girl. When Deep Sea King wanted to kill his opponent, Mumen Rider appeared and attacked him with his bike. Mumen Rider showed no fear and he attacked the monster, but his attack failed. Afterwards, Deep Sea King remembered that he wanted to kill Genos, but Mumen Rider didn't give up and attacked the monster again. He knew he wasn't a big help in the fight, because he was a weakling. Despite everything, he couldn't accept being idle and tried to gain as much time as possible. The citizens could sense his determination, and they all believed he could win. So they all tried to cheer for Mumen Rider and said that he can win. Mumen Rider was motivated and he fought with all his strength, but he lost immediately. At the last moment, Saitama appeared and he told him that he had fought well. Afterwards he noticed that Genos was injured, and he was worried about his student. He was then attacked by Deep Sea King, but the attack caused no damage. The Deep Sea King was amazed that he survived his attack, and the citizens realized that Saitama is the C-class newbie. Meanwhile, Deep Sea King said that he is the strongest, but Saitama was bored, so he attacked Saitama, but he defeated him with just one punch, and everyone was shocked. Genos knew that his master would win, and the citizens had to realize that the C-class hero had won. Saitama was disappointed by the boring fight. Below we see Sonic, who returned to get his revenge, but Deep Sea King was defeated. In the following days, Saitama was on his way home and he discovered a drone. Genos explained to him that the heroes regularly send fan letters, and there was also one for Saitama in the box. Saitama opened his letter and was accused of being a fraud. Genos was sad and remembered the day against the Deep Sea King because everyone was cheering Saitama for the victory. Unfortunately, an ugly guy showed up claiming that the monsters were just weakened from fighting the previous heroes. He made fun of the heroes, and one of the citizens wanted to beat him up. Saitama then posed as a villain to calm down the citizens. As a result, everyone believed that he was really a fraud, and they committed to hating him. Genos was aware that Saitama was only pretending to be a villain so that the other heroes wouldn't lose their reputation. He also admired his master even more because he valued peace more than fame. Afterwards, Saitama discovered a fan letter thanking him for his heroic deed. Then he discovered that he moved up to rank 1, and he was called to the Hero Association. The Hero Association congratulated him and gave him the choice to be promoted to a B-class hero. He accepted so he could catch up with Genos, and he was asked a few more questions. Meanwhile, many doubted his strength, but some members of the association recognized him and said that he will surpass all of the S-class heroes someday. Afterwards we see Amai Mask, who was angry because Genos was defeated and ruined the reputation of the heroes. Then we see two injured A-class heroes who learned about the article about Genos. Puri Puri Prisoner showed up in the room and he planned to turn the two boys into his side chicks. They ran away and he found an article about him that called him a failure. In the evening, Saitama received a certificate as a B-class hero and he planned to eat Odin. Then Moomin Rider planned to invite him to dinner and he congratulated him on his promotion to B-class hero. At that moment, he remembered that he had met Moomin Rider a few days before. Saitama then learned that he had written the letter and they became friends while eating Odin. A few weeks later we see the great seer Shibabawa, and she predicted a monster who will destroy the world. Then we see in the mountains that a frozen monster has thawed and awakened to destroy humanity. Godzilla ran into the city and he wanted to take over the world. Suddenly the Hero Association fired missiles at him, but they did no damage. Then a fighter jet arrived, sending Heroine Tornado into battle. She flew in Godzilla's direction and looked down at the weak monster. Godzilla then asked who she was, but Tornado ignored him and was called back to base. Godzilla was angry because she called him a weirdo, and she was annoyed because he interrupted her phone call. Godzilla tried to stomp her, but she dodged his attack. Following this, Godzilla planned to fire a laser beam, but she crushed it with a meteorite from space. Meanwhile, Silverfang was teaching his martial arts techniques, and he asked if the two visitors wanted to try it. Saitama and Genos were not impressed with his technique, and Silverfang's student couldn't tolerate them looking down on his master. Then they learned that his best student was Garo, who went out of control and seriously injured all the strong students. Followed Silverfang explained that Saitama was stronger than him, but a Hero Association employee showed up. They learned about a new danger, and the threat level was at Dragon. Genos asked his master to accompany him and Saitama said he had nothing to do anyway. Later they arrived at the Hero Association HQ and Silverfang was greeted by Samurai Atomic. Silverfang introduced Saitama and said that he will one day be at the forefront of the S-class heroes. Afterwards, Tornado showed up and she complained that a B-class hero was brought with them. Saitama wondered why there was a small child in the building and thought that she had lost her parents. Later, all S-class heroes arrived at the meeting and Genos understood that the situation was serious because almost all S-class heroes from rank 1, 17 showed up. The only one who didn't show up was rank 1 and rank 6 of the S-class heroes. Suddenly, Saitama asked if he could have some tea because he was dying of thirst. The board chairman of the Hero Association then appeared. He told the heroes that a danger appeared that could even endanger the lives of all S-class heroes. So he asked if anyone was afraid and wanted to leave the meeting. No one left the room and Tornado began arguing with another hero. Then it was said that the great seer Madame Shibabawa was declared dead. They learned that the old woman had choked on a piece of chewing gum and died. Meanwhile, Puri Puri prisoner explained that Shibabawa is a seer who predicted catastrophes that could endanger the world. The chairman then talked about the most dangerous prophecy that she had written on a piece of paper. It was written in it that the earth would be in trouble. This is how they found out that in 6 months, a higher than threat level dragon or monster is on its way to Earth. The heroes understood that the situation was serious and the world could be destroyed. However, they did not know when the catastrophe would occur. Following this, the whole building shook and they couldn't believe that the Hero Association HQ was under attack. Sky King planned to conquer the Earth with his family. Suddenly all of the Sky King's children were defeated and he was shocked because they were crushed like insects. Additionally, Earth was attacked by the Death Star. Then the chairman of the Hero Association learned that the catastrophe had arrived on Earth. Afterwards we see a boy who was saved by his father. He was scared and couldn't believe he saw the huge alien spaceship. A 5-headed alien also appeared and wanted to kill them, but a hero stopped his attack. He managed to dodge in time and said that he is Samurai Atomic's student. Then the hero attacked the monster, and the chairman couldn't believe that the world will be 99% destroyed. Silverfang subsequently learned that the building was not destroyed because Metal Knight constructed it. The heroes wanted to go outside and Genos noticed that Saitama was already on his way to the enemy. Suddenly, he was attacked, but he deflected the cannonball. However, more cannonballs were fired at him, and he sent one back. In the meantime, the multi-headed alien was regenerating and he wanted to kill his enemy. He managed to seriously injure the hero with a hammer and looked down on his opponent. He then divided his body, but at the last moment, it was cut into small pieces. Samurai Atomic appeared and his student warned him that the monster can regenerate. The monster couldn't surprise him, but he regenerated again. So his enemy was happy to fight against a strong opponent, but he didn't think they had a chance of winning. Then a group of S-class heroes appeared and they looked forward to beat up the enemy. Puri Puri prisoner didn't want to lose again and he attacked his opponent. We then see the Hero Association desperately trying to evacuate everyone. Afterwards, Genos and another group of S-class heroes gathered to fight the boss. Ronnie Coleman asked King to accompany them. Suddenly King replied that he won't come because he can't fly, and Tornado became angry. Then we see Saitama, and an alien general tried to stop him, but he was immediately defeated. Saitama looked for the boss, and he destroyed the entire spaceship on the way. Meanwhile, the boss alien waited for his challenger to arrive. Then we see Lord Boros, who was on his way to see what was happening on his ship. Meanwhile, Gary was shocked that an invader had defeated all commanders of them. Saitama destroyed all the surveillance cameras, and Gary feared that Lord Boros would accuse him of being incompetent. Suddenly Lord Boros appeared, and he was told that an intruder was causing problems on the spaceship. Boros said not to panic, and he was confident that his elite warriors will stop the intruder. Then we see the news were reported that a spaceship appeared, and all the main roads leading to City A have been closed. Many residents were shocked by the news, and the alien ship frightened the citizens. Sonic learned about the strong enemy through the radio, and he felt the urge to fight. Afterwards, we see Puri Puri prisoner again, and he was exhausted from his fight against Melzergard. Melzergard was able to regenerate despite all the attacks, and he planned to attack the heroes. Silverfang saw the attack coming and blocked his attacks. In addition, Melzergard was pushed back. He was angry, and he sent part of his body to tell the ship to throw bombs down. Unfortunately, Metalbat stopped his plan and ended up playing baseball with the flying head. Suddenly, he was informed by Gary that there is an intruder on the ship, and that he should end the fight quickly to support them. Meanwhile, Metalbat continued trying to destroy a head of Melzergard. The other heroes focused on Melzergard's main body and fought him with all their secret combat techniques. Samurai Atomic's disciple suggested that they should retreat, but no one listened to him. They were determined to defeat the enemy to save the world. After that, Melzergard was ordered to return to the ship immediately, but he was busy because he was attacked from all sides. Gary was surprised that the humans were stronger than expected, and he reported that Saitama had eliminated half of the crew members, so Melzergard ordered his friend to bomb his location. Following this, Melzergard's head was cut in half, and he could not believe that the invader had killed almost everyone. Afterwards, Metalbat noticed a marble and he destroyed it. As a result, the enemy melted and he told the others about the weak spot. Following this, Samurai Atomic began to slash the enemy to finally defeat Melzergard. Meanwhile, we see Saitama, and he has been warned that if he continues to destroy the ship, he will die. Gary was just scared, and Saitama didn't fall for his lie. Suddenly, Saitama burst through a door and he discovered the control room. Gary then tried to scare him, and he used a Snapchat filter to change his body. Then we see an alien soldier who was responsible for the bombardment. He thought that his superior had to go to the toilet. The reason he didn't answer was because Saitama wasn't afraid. He then used his gravity abilities and tried to kill Saitama. Unfortunately, his powers doesn't work on Saitama, and the alien thought his name was Mob Psycho. After his powerful telekinetic attack, he thought Saitama was dead. Saitama thought it was rude to have a rock thrown at him, and he threw the rock at Gary's head. He also asked the soldiers where the boss was. Meanwhile, Child Emperor found out that the ship's energy level was increasing, and they couldn't evacuate everyone. One of the citizens was exhausted, and Moomin Rider showed up to save him. Then we see an alien who activated the artillery of the ship, and the heroes managed to destroy more marbles. Afterwards, the heroes were bombarded, and Melzergard was sure to win this time. Suddenly the bombs stopped because Tornado used her telepathy abilities. She sent the bombs back, and the enemy ship was destroyed. The Hero Association was impressed by Tornado's abilities. Afterwards, we see Moomin Rider, and he tried to evacuate as many people as possible. Suddenly Sting and Lightning Max showed up and they offered to help Moomin Rider on his mission. Slowly the heroes managed to fight back and fought bravely against Melzergard. Silverfang managed to destroy another marble and the enemy only had one head left. Suddenly Silverfang was hit, and the monster managed to knock out the strongest one of the group. Melzergard continued to look down on humanity, and he intended to unleash his true powers. Then we see Lord Boro, and he was sitting on his throne. Also he sensed that a strong enemy will arrive soon. Suddenly Saitama smashed the door, and he appeared in front of the boss alien. Saitama was enveloped in a dangerous aura, and Boro sensed that he was the strongest warrior on Earth. He was excited for the fight, and wanted to know the name about Saitama. However, Lord Boro told him that he traveled to many universes because he was prophesied to encounter a strong opponent someday. Suddenly, he attacked Boro and said that he must not destroy other planets through boredom. Boro survived the powerful punch and Saitama was surprised. Afterwards, Boro unleashed his true power, and he transformed into his perfect form that didn't impress Saitama. Then the battle began between the strongest hero of Earth against the strongest alien in the universe. Saitama waited for the attacks and his opponent managed to resist his punches. After a short moment, Saitama hit his opponent with a strong punch and his opponent realized that he had lost an arm. Lord Boro complimented him on his strength, and Saitama respected him too. Meanwhile, we see Tank Top Master, and he wanted to fight against the enemies in the sky in his own way. He was a huge rock against the ship. Suddenly, Tornado said that he is in her way and his pride was hurt. She used her telepathy powers and single-handedly destroyed the ship. The crew members were frightened and they were terribly afraid. Genos was impressed by heroine Tornado, and Drive Knight said that he will head home. Before he left the battlefield, he planned to talk with Genos. He warned him about Metal Knight, and told him that he is his enemy. Then we see Melzergard. He attacked Samurai Atomic and laughed like a typical villain. He said that he could already taste victory, but Silverfang recovered from his attack. Suddenly his body was cut, and Melzergard tried to regenerate. Silverfang stopped his try to heal up himself, and he successfully managed to destroy the last marble of his body. Following this, Samurai Atomic praised Silverfang that he was far too strong for an old man. The other heroes were happy about the victory, and they planned to destroy the alien ship in the sky. In the meantime, Moomin Rider managed to evacuate the remaining citizens. Saitama fought with his opponent, and Lord Boros went all out in the fight against Saitama. He managed to hit Saitama against several walls, but Saitama wasn't injured. So the two continued to fight and Boros used a dropkick. As a result, they fought outside of the ship. Then Boros said that he was impressed because no one had survived against him for so long. He shot an Iron Man laser beam at him and the entire ship exploded. Following this, Saitama took a strong blow and Boros was more than sure that he would win. The reason for this was that he came from a species that was the strongest living being in the universe and could always regenerate. Saitama was annoyed that he was talking so much, and his enemy became angry. Lord Boro performed his special attack that wiped out many of his crew members. He also showed Saitama his Rock Lee moves, and he released the 8 Gate. So Saitama was stomped into the moon, and he looked bored. He then realized that he had to return to Earth, and he played with a moonstone before returning. Following this, he flew back and his enemy was weakened. Suddenly Saitama landed on the ship, and the heroes thought that tornado had caused the ship to fall. Meanwhile, Boros was angry, and he attacked Saitama again with all his strength, but he hit him in the stomach. He managed to push Boro back and Saitama began to initiate counterattacks. So he managed to destroy Boro's body, but he regenerated and increased his powers. He then unleashed his final blow, and he shot his laser beam at Saitama. The result was Saitama using his serious punch, and he reflected the attack back. He also defeated the enemy and saved the world from the threat. Afterwards, Saitama told him that he is really strong, and Boro was happy to have met Saitama. He knew that Saitama had not even fought with all of his strength, and he recognized Saitama as the strongest being in the universe. The spaceship then collapsed and Genos knew that his master had defeated the enemies. Then the heroes realized that they had to run away, and they wondered why Silverfang was so fast. The crew members were desperate, and the ship crashed to the ground. Later, a My Mask showed up, and he wasn't happy after seeing the destroyed City A in front of him. He ordered Metal Bat to explain the circumstances to him, and he looked down on the heroes. Metal Bat replied that an alien ship appeared and they had taken care of it. Suddenly, a My Mask became angry at the answer, and he insulted the heroes. He felt they had failed, and Samurai Atomic ran towards him. They said they did their best, and a My Mask called them pathetic. Metal Bat then became angry because the pop idol wasn't there in the fight. Suddenly an escape pod fell from the sky and Metal Knight appeared out of it. Metal Knight ignored them, and Genos asked him why he hadn't helped them. The reason Metal Knight appeared was because he planned to create more powerful weapons through alien technology. Then we see a My Mask, who continued to mock the heroes, and Ronnie Coleman found surviving aliens. They didn't want to die, but a My Mask eliminated them immediately. Ronnie Coleman was shocked, and he replied that they had no right to live. Genos realized that a My Mask was acting like himself before he met his master. Later, Genos realized that Saitama hasn't returned yet and he was worried. Saitama found his way out, and Tornado wondered why a Class B hero was inside the ship. Then he ignored Tornado and he wanted to go home with Genos. She was angry at being ignored and Genos called her a spoiled brat. Suddenly he was smashed against a rock and she planned to beat up Saitama too. Silverfang stopped them, and Saitama was worried because Genos was stuck in a rock. A few days later, all residents learned that City A was wiped out in one day. In addition, Metal Knight used alien technology and he built a stronger Hero Association HQ. Then more days passed, and the news reported that a huge monster appeared in City Z again. Pluton almost trampled a child, but Genos saved him in time. Then Saitama appeared and he defeated his opponents with just a single punch. He was disappointed to be able to defeat all his opponents with just one punch again.